Hello, everybody. I'm Rich Prater. I'm your host today on the Free Exchange of Ideas. We're on episode 2. We have a very special guest here today that was a witness to the January 6th, 2021 riots in Washington, D.C. This gentleman is probably one of my most favorite people in the world. And I know if my brother was here, he would say the same thing. He's highly respected. He's an author. He's been on the Sean Hannity show. And he's done some incredible things in his lifetime and has some of the best stories I've ever heard. And he also has a very lucrative business. Mike, if I left anything out on that introduction, please fill in the blanks.
Oh no, that's more than enough. I appreciate it very much.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I know myself and my family have a great respect for you and your family. I think you know that.
Well, thank you. Uh, I have a high regard for you guys too, and your brother's uh, amazing that he's done what he's done with his business at his age. I mean, it's just amazing to have virtually everything he owns is paid for. And
Yeah.
in his industry, 90% of the people out there are fully financed and in debt to their heads. So
Oh, yeah.
he's
Yeah.
amazing.
He definitely runs an incredible business. And
Yeah,
I mean, as you know, I worked for him off and on for 32 years. So, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
we were young guys when, we got started.
yeah,
I think the first job that I worked with him on, I was 18 at the
yeah,
time. He was just getting going. And, um, yeah, I mean, very lucrative business and is just the same as you, Mike. And
yeah,
you and your family did the same exact thing. And you guys are really good people, and you have an incredible reputation.
yeah. We started when Nixon was still president.
Well, we don't go back quite that far, but yeah, I believe that.
Some of my younger customers, when they see that on my business card, they go, "Who is Nixon?" I go, "Well, he was president way back." So,
Yeah, he
uh,
was president from January 1969 to August of 1974. So,
yep. In fact, he experienced the exact same type of persecution that Trump has experienced, except he didn't have the wherewithal to stay with it and fight them, but it was the same machinery, the Democrat machinery, that tore him apart. And so,
well, yeah, I mean, when he did his farewell address, prior to Jerry Ford getting sworn in as president, I mean, he looked like death on
yeah,
that video. I mean, he looked bad.
yeah,
It definitely beat him apart.
yeah,
That's for sure. But that'll be a great discussion for another time if we could do it, Mike. I'd love to cover the Watergate scandal with you. I know a lot about it,
yeah,
but
me too.
anyway,
Well, before we get started, I wanted to make a comment that is, today is the second day after the killing of Khomeini and his government, and as I've been hearing different uh, people with TDS, commenting about how Trump is is imperialistic, and this is the farthest thing from imperialism. Imperialists don't go in and tell the people, "Hey, it's your opportunity now. You've got an open door to take over your government and have freedom." An imperialist goes in and takes over. And that's absolutely not what we're doing or what we have ever done, actually. We're not imperialists. So just want to make that comment.
absolutely, absolutely. And we're going to go ahead and Bonnie's going to go ahead and switch his screen here so we can get on the information and the right stuff here.
Yep.
All right. So, first thing I'd like to do here, and I do this on all my episodes, even with Darlie Routier, Mike, is I always put my email address up here.
Yep.
Um, Anybody wants to contact me, be a guest on the show, anybody wants to have a debate of any sort, contact me and we'll see what we can do about getting you on. All right. So, January 6th, 2021. Now, Mike, I assume, and like I said, I know a lot of the answers to these questions. We've talked about this briefly, even in person. What made you decide to go to Washington to the protest of the 2020 election?
Well, I'd actually gone up there. This was the third rally that I went to after the election in Washington, D.C. There were several of them. And so this one was primarily, and people don't realize this, I don't think, for the most part, the media certainly doesn't point this out. This was simply to request that the House and the Senate do their friggin' jobs. And that is to do a thorough investigation into the fraud allegations that were laid before them. There were dozens of attorneys that were there that morning to support and present those who were holding to the idea that there was fraud going on. So we sensed as a group, which is thousands of Trump supporters and loyal Americans who felt that this was going to get railroaded. And I would say that most of us felt that Mike Pence was already a traitor by this time. So we drove up there. I had several friends who were photographers that wanted to video this as well as photograph it. And we got there early on the morning of January 6th. It was cold, cold, cold. By the way, people don't realize how cold it was. Wind chill had to be 20. It was breezy and 34 degrees all day long, cloudy and overcast, not a bit of sunshine. And when we got there, my buddies headed on down to the White House to film President Trump give his talk to everybody. And I went ahead and set up lawn chairs and camped out right by the front of the Capitol on the Supreme Court side. And so there's about an 18-inch retaining wall that surrounds the parking area in front of the Capitol there. And it's a grassy park that's between the Capitol and the Supreme Court. And we were setting up camp in that area. There was maybe by 8:30, 8:45, there was maybe 200, maybe 300 people there. And we were sitting around on lawn chairs. There was one group that was singing hymns and having prayer. There was a few people milling around there's like a big, large semicircular sidewalk that's about 6 feet, maybe 8 feet wide, that wraps around the parking area that's in front of the Capitol rotunda and the steps and everything there. Pretty good size area. I would say that from the front of the Capitol building out toward the park is probably around 300 feet, about the length of a football field. And the width of that semicircle is probably 300 yards. So that gives you kind of a feel for the concrete area where there were Suburbans parked. There were some police cars there. There was a couple of ambulances already parked there. But this retaining wall that was up against the sidewalk that sort of separated the grassy area from the concrete, most people were setting up their lawn chairs and sitting in that area. There were a few people starting to camp out on the 18-inch tall retaining wall, and this little retaining wall becomes critical in what develops over the next few hours. But I set up three chairs there for the three of us, while the other two went on down to see the Capitol. So I sat there by myself for maybe 20 or 30 minutes, And then other people started setting up near me, and I started chatting with different people. And as we were just visiting and observing the small crowds that were developing, we noticed an interesting thing after being at many Trump rallies over the years and since. Uh, these people didn't look like they were Trumpers. Most Trump supporters are smiling, easy to talk to, family. Lots of times they're with their families, kids, and all that type of thing. We saw lots of kids there, by the way, and lots of families. But we kept seeing these different guys who were by themselves, who had tattoos. They had several of them had these microphones on their lapels or on their shirts or on their jackets, wearing Trump hats and wearing the Trump gear and carrying Trump flags and American flags, that type of thing. But they just didn't look the part. And so I remembered at least 4 or 5 different people saying, I don't think these people are part of us. And I said, yeah, I agree. I said, it's kind of weird. So as we observed this and watched these people, we noticed one in particular was walking near me, and I made a comment to him about the weather and about the rally and about the whole purpose of us being there, and tried to stir up a conversation. And the guy was completely oblivious and uninterested. So I really sensed that there was something else going on there. But there were 3 fellows, as we go through some of these pictures in a minute, there were 3 fellows sitting in front of me who I tried to stir up a conversation with, and they were really aloof and not interested. And they become, as we go through these photographs in a few minutes, they become a critical part of the entire scenario of what that the media, conservative or liberal, has never talked about. But yet there were lots of people who witnessed what I'm getting ready to tell you about.
Yeah, that sounds very familiar to me, especially with things like on the Kennedy assassination and so on and so forth. But
yeah,
let's go ahead, Mike. We're going to start on these videos and pictures.
okay.
What I figured I could do is play the video and or show the picture, and then once the video's over, you can explain your position on it. And by the way, just to let the viewers know, these pictures and these videos were taken by Mike himself. This is not national news coverage or anything of that sort. Mike took these videos himself.
Yeah, these are off my iPhone.
Right. All right, here we go with the first one, Mike.
Senate, in order to be heard.
Okay, the reason I sent you this video was because, first of all, I wanted you to see that how few people were actually out there between the steps and the retaining wall that I'm telling you about, and the atmosphere was peaceful, and people were, every once in a while they'd yell, but they were just excited about getting the word out that we were expecting those guys inside to do their job.
Fair enough. Okay, this is the next video, Mike.
Overwhelming. The fraud that we've collected in recent weeks is overwhelming, having to do with our election. Everyone is saying, wow, the evidence is overwhelming when they get to see it. All over the country, people are together in holding up signs, stop the steal. This is a national disgrace. No other advanced country conducts elections this
Now, Mike, if I could, if I could make a quick comment on this,
Yeah.
initially, after the election in November 20,
Uh-huh.
and Trump started saying, it's a fraud election, Joe Biden stole it, all that stuff. I always had the feeling right from day one, something wasn't quite right with the election. You could just tell something wasn't quite right. If you look at the votes, they made the claim that President Biden got 80 million votes on that election, and they had done a figure that if President Trump had only got 65 million votes, he would have won the election by a landslide. But he got 71 million votes, according to a tally.
Right.
And just something didn't ring true. And then the states that were too close to call, there's this big holdup, and there's all these closed doors, and you see videos of people tearing Trump ballots apart, and stuff like that. So yeah, I think there's a lot of serious questions about the election, and I don't think that they've ever been truly answered, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I'll tell you that from all of my reading and studying and researching this whole subject, the fake ballots and the different things that involve people sneaking ballots in and even truckloads of ballots being brought in,
Yeah,
is almost a ruse. That was not the reason Trump lost. The reason that Trump lost was because of the computers. Now, it doesn't, as Joseph Stalin said, it doesn't matter who wins the election; it matters on who counts the votes. And so,
well, wasn't it true, Mike? I'm pretty sure that it was true that the computers that tallied the votes, it was either Nancy Pelosi's husband had big stock into that, or actually owned it, or something like that. Is that correct?
Yeah, he's chairman of the board, the company that actually produced those computers. Now, Mike Lindell did a 2.5-hour in-depth investigation into this thing, and the computers and the logarithms and all the different patterns that developed. And his presentation is flawless. And I highly, 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 highly recommend anybody, if they're genuinely, honestly interested in this, to watch Mike Lindell's investigation into the computer systems that were involved here. But we knew that at January 6th. And so we were expecting and hoping that these congressmen would do their jobs. And as we progressed through the morning, many people had their iPhones on, watching what was happening inside. And so as we were watching what was happening inside, and it came to the point where Mike Pence set everybody to go to do the investigation into the Arizona complaints, because they were the first state. He interestingly sent everybody underground. And I remember many of us looking at each other going, why are they going underground? Why is Mike Pence sending the House representatives and the senators to their underground quarters? Well, we know now why, because they had orchestrated this entire scenario to let people in the doors. Keep in mind, too, these are the highest security doors in the world. And there's a bunch of people outside who are pissed, but they don't have guns and clubs. They might have a few flagpoles, but they managed to get into the highest security building in the world with flagpoles.
Well, Mike, it also reminds me of something else from history. The September 11th attack of 2001 under President George W. Bush.
Right.
I'm always, my biggest question, and I've heard the former governor of Minnesota, Jesse Ventura, say this as well, and he makes a good point. And the point is this: how could these men get on the planes, hijack the planes, breach our multi-billion-dollar security system, and while taking, orders from a bearded man in a cave in Afghanistan?
Yep.
And me personally, and we've never really talked about 9/11, Mike, but I believe that was the federal government all day, to be honest with you. And why I point this stuff out, I made reference to President Kennedy's assassination today, the 9/11, is because history repeats itself.
Yeah.
It really does. And this is why it's imperative that people have these free exchange of ideas, whether you agree or disagree. The late Charlie Kirk said, we're in big trouble in this country if we don't have a free exchange of ideas. That's why I named this program that after him, because after he was assassinated, I'm like, I got to quit talking about doing these political podcasts and just start doing them, because there's stuff people really need to know. They need to see the truth about things and understand it, but people don't know the history. They don't know the history of this country. And I'm a big believer, Mike, that the biggest downfall of this country was the Kennedy assassination. And I mean, that's where it really started going downhill. And it's been on a downhill path ever since then, in my opinion.
And you made the comment, political podcast. When you're talking about these issues, you've gone way beyond political. This is criminal, treasonous type stuff. And so the issues of what was going on January 6th was treasonous, as far as I'm concerned. For security guards to open the doors and let people in so that they could create a visual scenario that would discredit President Trump. And that was exactly what Mike Pence and Nancy Pelosi and several others organized. This was fully orchestrated and organized by those people. Of course, we know that Trump had requested the fences and the National Guard, and they said, no way. The other thing that's kind of interesting too, Rich, is that morning when we got there about 8:15, I saw 3 semi trucks leaving the area with porta potties on them. So there were porta potties there from the day before, and yet they took several hundred of those and removed them. A lot of people don't know this because the media has never covered it. There were 12 porta potties for 300,000 people. And there's nowhere to go to the bathroom in Washington, D.C. You have to go all the way to the railroad station to find a bathroom, especially on a day like that when everything was closed. So I often kid people that the reason they went into the Capitol was to find a friggin' bathroom. That was, in fact, a lot of people went in and came right back out after they went to the bathroom. But it was a criminal thing to expect 300,000 people to show up to something like this and not have facilities for them. It was crazy. So as this progressed, let's go to the next video here real quick.
Okay. I think this one here is a picture, Mike.
Yep. Yeah, that's just a photo just showing, the broad area that was in front of this retaining wall and how much space there was out in front of the Capitol building. as we go through these pictures too, you'll see that there's lots of vehicles that are completely undamaged after people started coming into this area. You can see the super high security aluminum fence there. Those actually you lift them up 2 inches and they disconnect from each other. And so there was full intention of they wanted people to come in. What you're seeing over in that crowd that is developing, that is almost straight in front of the stairs, the main steps that go up to the Capitol. That group was about maybe 300 or 400 people. It wasn't very many, comparatively speaking. And right after I took this picture, a white van pulled up, government issued van, government tags on it, and about 20 guys got out of that van. Every one of them was wearing Trump clothes, Trump hats, American flags, Trump flags. And I'm going, why the heck would a government van pull up and let a bunch of Trumpers out in front of the Capitol like that? And so as soon as they got out, we watched them, and they worked their way to the front of this crowd that you see here. And they got themselves positioned to where they were between the crowd and the high security fence you see right there. So go ahead and go to the next picture.
Okay.
There again, it's just more open space. This is probably 10 o'clock in the morning.
And Mike, when I look at your pictures and your video coverage of the incident, boy, I tell you what, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, I mean, they painted out to be like there was 1 million people running into that place to kill people. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as we go through these, you'll see that's not the case.
Right.
Let's go ahead and skip to the next one. That one doesn't really tell a whole lot. What do I show you? Okay.
Yeah, these are the guys you were talking about. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Now, these 3 guys, they were part of it, undoubtedly. They were either working for Antifa, BLM, George Soros, Nancy Pelosi, whoever were the orchestrators in this. I tried to chat with them. They were not interested. 1 or 2 of them had some Trump paraphernalia, and you see a police officer circled up ahead in the upper part of the picture.
Yeah, right here. Yeah.
There were Capitol police officers, super nice guys. I talked with 3 or 4 of them, and they were just milling around in front of the fence there, walking back and forth. And as the crowd started to grow, they were spaced out about every 75 to 100 feet, 150 feet at the most, between the main open area there and the fence. So that particular officer was looking and kind of guarding our area there. And so what happens, we've got a picture of it here. I think it might be the next one.
Okay. Well, we got a video up next, Mike.
Okay.
Did you want to watch the video, or do you want me to scroll forward?
See what this video is real quick.
Okay.
This was
now, would you say, Mike, that when President Trump was actually speaking, you could see the people getting a little bit more riled up, in your own opinion, because you were there?
Well, the video and the voice of Trump that you hear there was from megaphones, from recorded rallies prior to this one.
Oh, very good.
That was
Mike.
not live from the White House.
Understood.
So those are various people had megaphones playing quotes from him and various things like that. Uh, as that video was just to show that the crowd that was building up and developing on the sidewalk was getting more and more riled up as word got out that Mike Pence was not doing his part in getting the Arizona investigation going like we had expected it to.
Well, Mike, a lot of people say, well, and even former Vice President Mike Pence said, which I remember even telling my brother in 2016, he shouldn't have picked Mike Pence, because I always believed that Mike Pence was establishment.
Well, he was establishment, and Trump was unfortunately at the mercy of advisors.
Yeah, he sure was.
Those advisors were insider swamp rats also. So,
yeah, that's true. So, but a lot of people say, well, Mike Pence couldn't have done anything. He couldn't have stopped the certification of the election. What are you talking about? Why would the Vice President of the United States, the President of the Senate, have to certify it?
Right.
If he, we just got to go right along and certify it no matter. No. That's not how, the laws in this country works. That's not how.
You know what? As soon as this whole scenario developed, it got out of hand, which was perfectly within their plan. Mike Pence, if he was truly a patriot and truly wanting honest investigation, he could have immediately told the entire Senate and House, hey, we've had a problem here today. We're going to put the brakes on this. We're going to take a few days to get things organized, and we're going to do our proper investigation. And if we have to, we will do a delay on the certification. They still had, 14 days before the 20th. That's plenty of time to do a few days of investigation to determine whether or not this thing can be certified or not. But they didn't want that to happen. They wanted to make sure that on January 20th, a new president was being inaugurated, and of course they knew that was going to be the Democrat. But the thing that Mike Pence did was he railroaded this thing through. As soon as they got their bearings straight, they spent that whole evening, and they stayed up until 3:00 in the morning, and they certified Joe Biden as the president at 3:00 in the morning. What's interesting is to look at what happened on the speaker stand when they certified. And I can tell you exactly what happened.
Please do.
Mike Pence and Nancy Pelosi did a dance together. And they did they bumped hips and were smiling, and you could tell that they were thrilled that they had completed the task that they had set out to do that day.
Very unfortunate. Very unfortunate.
Yep.
Let's see what our next. Okay, looks like we got a picture here, Mike.
Yeah, those are those guys. And what had happened was they were starting to act like they were riled up Trump supporters here. And shortly after this, they walk over to the kindergarten fence, and the one in the beige jacket, he begins to raise his fist in the air and yell like he's mad at the senators for not doing their job. And when he does this, he loses his balance and falls over this little short fence. I watched it, and he's actually not that good of an actor, because he didn't fall over. He pushed himself over. And I wish I had filmed it, but
he falls
over the fence for full intentions of getting the police to come to him. So as soon as he falls over the fence and an officer runs over to him, it looks like a fight. visually to the other officers, it looked like there's a skirmish going on. And I noticed immediately to my right, toward the larger crowd of people that was facing the center steps. I'm off to the left of center here. There's about a 45-degree angle to the front of the Capitol. So these officers who see this fake skirmish going on rush over to this situation. The very moment, and by the way, this was probably within 3 to 5 minutes after the 20 guys that got out of the van worked their way to the front of the crowd. So as soon as they're in place, this fake fight happens. The police officers who are in front of these 20 men who were leading now the group in front of the Capitol steps, in front of that fence, have now been left unattended. So the officers are now down here taking care of the fake fight. Guess what happens? The 20 guys who are down at the center area lift up the kindergarten fence and set it out of the way, and then the crowd follows them in. And these guys are carrying Trump flags and American flags, walking. And it is interesting, they didn't run, they did walk, and they walked slowly toward the Capitol steps. As they did, the crowd behind them followed them, just like lemmings, and they worked their way slowly so that the crowd could grow behind them. And it did. And it grew from 300 or 400 to 1,000 within a matter of 3 or 4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. So they get to the steps, and when they get to the steps, there's about 7, maybe 8 officers in riot gear with the AKs and the helmets and the whole works, and they're standing spaced out on the steps, and nobody's going past these guys. So they're all standing around for about 15 minutes and maybe 20, and then when the time was right, like I say, this was orchestrated. When the time was right, they stepped out of the way, the officers did, and allowed the crowd to come up the stairs to the doors. Now, interestingly, too, there was a fire truck with a fireman on top of it with a water cannon. That water cannon could have turned that crowd around in about 10 seconds, especially when it's 34 degrees. And those people would have been heading for warm vehicles and getting out of there because they would have been soaking wet. But they probably would have got knocked over by that water cannon, but they didn't use it. They did not want to use it, of course. Their full intention was to get this crowd up and let it build. So during this process of them holding the crowd back at the lower part of the stairs, allowed the crowd to build. And so by the time that these officers get out of the way and allow the people that have developed behind them to get riled up and to come up the stairs, they come up the stairs on both sides, well, all 3 steps, the Senate doors, the representatives doors, the House doors, as well as the center doors going into the Capitol Rotunda. So people are standing around on the porticos of these 3 doorways for probably another 20 minutes. And then suddenly the doors opened from the inside. And I've got video of that to show you that.
Well, let me ask you this, Mike, because you actually witnessed this. Excuse me. What do you think the cause of this so-called insurrection? Why do you believe that this happened? What would you say in your opinion would be the cause of how this happened? Because everything you're describing to me, I mean, it looks what it looks like. It smells what it smells like. It looks like a black operation. I'm going to be honest with you.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt.
Yeah. So my question is, why would that transpire in your opinion?
Well, first of all, the the reason that the people were there, the Trump supporters, was because they were frustrated with the fact that nobody seemed to care about this problem, and they figured that the best way to do it is to get out there ourselves and make it known that we're not going to put up with the stolen election. The second part of this is that the BLM and the Antifa type people and the FBI working together, and I have no doubt that the FBI was fully involved in this, in coordinating. I'm not saying all the FBI, but there were people in the FBI that had to be involved in this. They were part of the machine, part of the Democrat machine, and they did not want to see Trump back in office. They were set out to get rid of him. So it's interesting that over the years, I've learned that the CIA has used this technique for at least 60 or 70 years in other countries, where you take a group of people who are protesting, or they're gaining a movement in a capital or in a country, and the only way to stop them is to infiltrate them and discredit them.
Yes, sir.
So that's exactly what was going on here. Was they had infiltrated us with fake Trump clothes and fake hats and all of this stuff to make people who watch the optics to think that these were Trump supporters. And they weren't. They were not Trump supporters. They were instigators who were there with no purpose other than to discredit the true American-loving, mostly Christian and Jewish supporters of the Constitution and of this country. And,
well, Mike, if I could, and you know, I know that you have a lot of knowledge on the Kennedy assassination.
yeah.
District Attorney Jim Garrison, he was the only person to ever bring someone to trial for the conspiracy that killed President Kennedy, and that was Clay Shaw. Clay Shaw was sadly acquitted when he clearly was a handler of Lee Oswald out of the CIA. But you know, Jim Garrison always said the first thing that they're going to do is concentrate on discreditation. That's right. What they do first. And then if that doesn't work, they'll kill you. And it, you know, it's still true today. I remember telling people when Trump was elected in 2016, and then when he was running for re-election in 2020, I said, if he gets reelected, I said, somebody's going to kill him. Yeah. Because they can't shut him up. They can't destroy him by discreditation. Somebody's going to kill him. And then he so-called lost the election, and then he won in 24. And, you know, he had 2 assassination attempts. One of them attempts about got him. He couldn't have got any closer.
Yeah.
And yeah. So, I mean, you know, you put the pieces of the puzzle together, you know, with history and with this, it's tit for tat as far as the direction it went into, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you know, as a believer in Scripture and in the sovereignty of God, I have no doubt that Joe Biden was in there for God's perfect reasons and his own perfect purposes. And he had Obama in there for his own perfect reasons that we don't, as Christians, quite understand, but we know that he's in control. At the same time, Trump's assassination attempts were fully in God's hand also. And so that's one thing, at least we can definitely rest assured that our Creator and our sovereign God is in control of all of this. But that doesn't mean we should sit back and be que sera, sera, and just let things be as they be. We have a responsibility that he has given us to do our part as American citizens and as members of this republic to work and to do what we need to do to protect it.
Well, President Jefferson, stated, because I mean, President Jefferson ran for the presidency initially in 1796 and lost to President Adams.
Yep.
But he was Adams's vice president. That's the way the law of the land was written back in. If you come in second place in a presidential election, the second place winner would become the vice president. And then he defeated John Adams in 1800 and became the president and got reelected in 1804. And he left office in March of 1809. But President Jefferson, and I tell people this all the time, President Jefferson said, if you are a citizen of our land, if you are a part of our country, you have the responsibility of doing something about anything that's going wrong in this country. It's your responsibility as an American and as a citizen of this country to do something about it.
Exactly.
And I totally agree with that 110%. And when these riots happen, Mike, I told some people, I'd like to see more of it.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to see people killed and people hurt.
No.
The bottom line is we have to hold the government's feet to the fire to get government that work for the people.
Right.
And I know Jefferson would have said that. Even Adams, Washington, Madison, Monroe, I know they would have said it as well.
Oh, yeah.
They were all founding fathers and they were all presidents.
Yep.
So,
exactly. And I'm so glad that the 80,000 Amish people in Western Pennsylvania woke up and voted, and they were even putting Trump bumper stickers on their buggies, So I mean, it was great to see that they finally woke up and realized that if they're going to live in this country, they have a responsibility to protect what we've been given. And
you're right.
There's a lot of responsibility that goes with this. Let's go to the next one real quick.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is the fake fight over here, right there.
All right, here, I'm going to back that up, Mike, so everybody can see it again. And you said this is the fake fight from those three gentlemen, right?
Right.
Okay.
So, as you can see, it got a lot of attention just for a few moments, but it was just a few moments that was all that was needed to pull those officers away from that other area. So,
kind of looks like they were trying to get the attention on that, why something else may have been going on, Mike.
Yeah, it was, and what was interesting too was they shook hands afterwards. The guy in the beige jacket was shaking hands with the Capitol police officers, and they were like patting him on the back, saying, "Oh, it's all cool, fine," but by this time the gates were opened, so
that's something. Okay, Mike, we got another picture here.
Yeah, that's down there where the officers had just left their positions, and there's a group of people there that are right behind those 20 FBI, CIA, Antifa, whatever they were, guys that got out of the white van. And you can see people are starting to look down there because they're seeing that something's happening, and the people are starting to walk inside past the fence.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right, we got another picture here, Mike.
Yeah, it's just another shot from the view where I was at, looking at the sidewalk and looking out at the open area. As you can see, there's ambulances there. There was a couple of.
I was about to say that.
Huh?
Yeah, I was about to say I see the ambulances there.
They were there at 8 o'clock in the morning. They were there.
Yeah, but see, my question is why would they be there?
Well, they knew they were going to have a large crowd there, and there were a couple of fire trucks there. And like I say, They oftentimes take fire trucks as backup, battery power and that type of thing for ambulances. But the fact that they had water cannon capability and they could have easily turned that crowd around if they had wanted to. They had the power, to do it.
Sure.
But go ahead.
And I don't recall what I was going to say. It was important too, but that's okay. We'll move forward here. We got another video, Mike.
All righty. Now, this is when the crowd was just beginning to show up. No, I take that back. That was after the 8 or 9 police officers who were guarding the steps. They had stepped out of the way so that the people could start coming up the stairs. As you might notice there at the beginning of that, people are beginning to walk up the steps toward the front doors of the Capitol.
Interesting. Very interesting. All right, we got another picture here. Did we already see this one? I don't.
That's just a photograph from the video. Is all.
And these are the
police officers. Yeah,
they stepped up, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Very interesting. That looks like another picture of the officers of the AKs at the top of the Capitol steps.
Right.
And we have another video, Mike.
All righty. That was just basically showing people are getting excited and they're working their way up the stairs.
So yeah, that was like right before they start going into the Capitol, I assume.
Yep. Yeah, this was probably 30 minutes because it took a good 20 or 30 minutes for them to have the appropriate time for the doors to be opened. There was a lot of orchestration going on.
Yeah, it sure looks like it.
I think part of the orchestration was to get the numbers up. They wanted to get the numbers up outside.
Yeah.
And as people started approaching those steps, it started getting the attention of more and more people.
Well, here's the thing that's catching my eye, Mike. And you pretty much already said it early in the episode here. If you got these officers up here with AK-47s, how did these people, listen, your story makes sense. How did these people break into that building?
Right.
These police officers with AK-47s, armed with AK-47s, nobody's going to challenge that.
No, not these people either, especially. The only reason these people went any further is because the police officers welcomed them by stepping out of the way. When you step out of the way, it's basically saying, come on, folks.
Might as well.
It's your turn.
Right.
I guarantee you one gunshot in the air would have stopped them and turned
them.
Around.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't see them talking here now, Mike. You're getting pretty riled up now, huh?
Yeah, they're getting a little noisy and excited, All
right. Now, Mike, I remember you telling me a long time ago, you didn't go into the Capitol building, when people rushed in, but you did look inside, but you didn't go in. That is accurate, correct?
Well, yeah, I was standing by a window at the top of the Senate steps, and a guy came over and he had an American flag and he took the wooden pole and broke the window. And as soon as he broke it, myself and 2 other guys who were standing next to me said, "Hey, we're not here to do that." And about that time, 2 guys who looked like they should have been linebackers for the Green Bay Packers came over and they literally grabbed us and pulled us back, even though we hadn't touched this guy, and said, "You're out. Just get out of here." And basically they just were forcing us to get back from the guy who had just broken the window. So I didn't want to get involved in any fighting. I didn't want to get involved in anything like that. So I stepped away from there. And if you're facing the Senate doors, this was over to the right. I went way back around to the left-hand side, which in a few moments you'll see a video here that I witnessed the doors opening from the inside.
All right, another video.
Because that's what they want to do. They want to take not me, but us down. And we can never let them do that. The corruption is so rampant. The evidence is overwhelming. The fraud that we've collected in recent weeks is overwhelming, having to do with our election. Everyone is saying, wow, the evidence is overwhelming when they get to see it. All over the country, people are together in holding up signs. Stop.
It's just showing further as people were gathering and getting excited, and the megaphones were playing, and there was a few people with the Jewish Hebrew shofars playing those also.
Good.
It's overwhelming. The fraud that we've collected in recent weeks is overwhelming, having to do with our election. Everyone is saying,
Mike, let me ask you a quick question so we can continue, because something's always killed me about this. Now, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, I've always believed that something wasn't quite right with this election. Okay, yeah. 2020, November of 2020. I've always questioned it. I've always believed that it should have been investigated very thoroughly. I mean, we're talking about a presidential election. We're not talking about a city council seat. And I don't think a thorough investigation's ever been done by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, you got these people, make a long story short, doing Jerry Epstein, which they're never going to get to the bottom of anything because they keep redacting all the files and documents, which is absolutely ridiculous. I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole. But I mean,
well, there was a huge investigation led by Liz Cheney, and she's such an honest and wonderful patriot that
just like her dad.
About that investigation was it was worse than a kangaroo court. It was 100% one-sided.
Yeah.
But not only is it one-sided, it was full of misrepresentations and lies. And then after it was completed, they literally deleted thousands of hours of video, security video footage, because they knew that it didn't play up to the Liz Cheney, Rhino, Democrat, game plan. So,
well, I mean, President Trump today claims that, he has all the evidence and he's going to release it. I'm actually very interested in taking a look at it. But yeah, I remember when all that Liz Cheney stuff was going on. Yeah, that woman's probably more corrupt than her own father was. Yeah. But anyway, moving forward, Mike, let's see what we got. We got another video here.
What is necessary to win the state? The media knows this, but they don't want to report it. In fact, they outright refuse to even cover it because they know the result if they do.
Yeah, the gentleman there, the bald-headed guy with the gray sweater, he opened the doors from the inside and then stood and held the door open, welcoming the crowd out of the Senate doors there to just come on in. And I saw probably 8 or 9 guys that walked in and only stayed in for a matter of 10 seconds and turned around and left. I think they had a fear that this could turn into something worse, and they had the sense of, I don't think I want to be in here, and I think they started to sense that it was more becoming a setup, and some people sensed the setup aspect of it pretty early, and others thought, well, shoot, yeah, I'll go for a walk and enjoy it and hang out. But the destruction part of it and the damage part of it, which was pretty minimal considering the size of the crowd, was, I would say without a doubt 90 to 99% the people who had purposes of hurting the appearance of the group there. They were not true Trumpers.
Yeah, there's something fishy. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, we got another video here.
Yeah, this is, you can see the ambulance in the background there. That is the lady that was shot. They had just taken her out of the Capitol building and were taking her to the ambulance.
And she later passed away, I believe, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't have been surprised if she was dead immediately, but it's hard to say.
Sure.
And there were 6 people killed that day that were Trump supporters, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard that, Mike.
Yeah, and I can give you the link if you'd like to a video and to a website that goes into detail of each of those 6 people and who they were and how they died.
The press never mentions that, Mike.
Yeah. By the way, this is I circled the fellow that was opening the door.
Okay.
It's interesting too that as you look at these photographs, and then you go back and look at the summer before in Seattle and Portland and Minneapolis, and the Antifa, BLM, Democrat riots that took place, the cars were destroyed. They were windows were broken. Many of them were lit on fire, and there's not even a scratch on any of these limos and these cars and all these vehicles that were parked all around out there. There was zero damage. These people were law-abiding American patriots who were just pissed off that our government was being stolen by this fake election. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, we got a fake president out of it too, for 4 years. That I'm not even sure he knew where he was half the time.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's a picture of the water cannon on top of the fire truck.
Very interesting.
It was manned at one time, but it wasn't in this picture. And that's a summary of the whole day.
Yeah.
Right there.
Well, this is, Mike, one of the biggest things that really bothered me, and, I'm a huge believer in freedom and liberty and, people, with their right to speak. I think it's very important for this country, and it always has been and probably always will be. The one thing that I really didn't like out of the protesters, I shouldn't say the protesters, some of the protesters. Now, I didn't see this in any of your videos or your pictures, so I'm going to question it because, it's what you hear on the press, and that's 90% lies anyway.
Yeah.
But they carried in Confederate flags in our Capitol building.
Yeah.
And that kind of bothers me a little bit.
I didn't see a single Confederate flag anywhere.
Okay.
I'm surprised. And if there were any, I would certainly put it on the far, far, far wacko fringe people on the far right, or they were among the BLM Soros discreditors that were there.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I see nothing like that in any of your pictures or videos, but I have been told that there were people carrying Confederate flags inside the Capitol building.
Yeah, I never saw any.
Now, I'm not seeing any here either on your stuff here.
Saw a lot of Texas flags.
Sure.
A lot of those. Yeah, this picture here is just basically showing the doors. You know, those doors, nobody's going through those doors unless somebody opened them from the inside. And those doors, by the way, cannot be opened with a key or with anything other than a security pass.
Interesting.
You can't be inside the building and say, well, I'm
Well,
going
did
out
they
the
break
door.
the windows out of these doors?
What's that?
Did they break the windows out of the doors?
I never saw any broken windows. There were some broken windows, but they were office windows. So, but I never saw anybody try to go through a window. You know, if they broke a window and went through it, certainly wasn't anywhere in the vision of. Now there was a whole lot going on the other side of the building where the scaffolds were set up. So, no telling what might have happened outside there. I have not talked to anybody that was on the other side of the Capitol building.
And
But I know
what's this picture?
what I saw.
I'm sorry, Mike, I didn't hear you.
Oh, I was saying I know what I saw, and that was the side of the Capitol building that faces the Supreme Court, and there was definitely nobody that went through any of those windows.
Yeah, okay, we already went through this one.
Yeah.
Mike, that's it. We did all your photographs. We did all your videos. Mike, I can't tell you how much it means on a personal level that you were here today. And I really hope to have you back because I've got a whole bunch of episodes lined up. It's just a matter of getting to them. And I couldn't think of anybody in the world other than you I would want to hear the most out of many people I know. Was there anything else that you wanted to state or talk about the January 6, 2021?
No, other than my bladder and my buddy's bladders. We got the best workout they ever got because we had to walk 12 blocks to the railroad station, and then we had to wait for a huge line. It's a miracle we all didn't pee our pants. But I tell you, I think that was part of it that doesn't ever get discussed, that there was a very inconsiderate aspect to the entire event by doing that type of thing to everybody. So, but it's one of those things. I'm just very, very, very thankful that Trump perhaps wasn't in office for those 4 years. It's a horrible thing that Biden did all the terrible things that he did, but at the same time, it woke up a lot of people, as well as President Trump, to a lot of things. I think that it became very apparent to even the president during that 4 years that Biden was in office. And I'm very, very thankful that we're getting things turned around today, and very, very thankful that we have a republic that is 250 years old, and we need to do everything we can to make sure our grandchildren and great-grandchildren experience and enjoy the freedom that we've had for the last 250 years.
Absolutely. Well, very well said, Mike. And if there's nothing else for you to say, yeah. I always close with a President Thomas Jefferson quote on all of my podcasts. Yeah. And this is one of my favorites. Yeah. President Jefferson always said, stay vigilant, question your government, And the other one that I like to say too is
Yep.
that Jefferson said was dissension is the greatest form of patriotism.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Definitely an incredible man. But if there's nothing more from you, Mike, I'll go ahead and get this closed out. I'll get it posted up. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate your time today, Mike.
Oh, thank you. Sorry I had a cold and going through
No,
Kleenexes, but enjoyed it.
Yeah, and Mike, would you come back at a later date if if I invite you to another podcast, which I will definitely if you'll come.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would really
Are
like.
Are you increasing the pay for the next one?
Well, I don't know, Mike. We'd have to talk about that. I retired from doing concrete work.
Oh yeah. I know.
Yeah. So
Cool.
and I do merchandising now. My legs were getting too bad. I kept falling. I kept getting hurt.
Yeah.
Differences of opinions about stuff, just things like that. And make a very long story short, I miss it. I miss it, Mike. I ain't gonna kid you. I miss going out on the sites. I miss talking, with my brother every day. Just different various things, and but it's just something I had to do.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'm 71, and I was on ladders with my carpenters yesterday, and we built a huge project, and we knocked it out in one day, and it was a lot of fun, and I thoroughly enjoy building. And it's just one of those things where I don't ever feel like I've ever worked because I always enjoy what I do. So.
oh yeah.
So.
And you guys are the best. You guys are the absolute best. I can't tell you how many recommendations over the years I've given for you, Mike, for your you and your family's business. But you guys are the best. You guys are the best in northern Texas, and anybody that is anybody knows that.
Yep.
So, but anyway.
Hey, thank you, Rich.
Hey, you take care, Mike. You have a wonderful day, sir. I'll be in touch with you. You know me and the weather.
All right, man. Thank you. Talk to you later.
You're very welcome, sir. You have a wonderful Sunday, and God bless always.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.